POV, it's the 2000s, you're Nintendo. You're in this phase of, if you can't iterate on a game, then what's the point of making a new entry in the series? You looked at Mario and decided, water jetpack, good idea by the way. Zelda's having development issues, things might have to be cut, but you hope people enjoy the new art direction and sailing mechanic. And then there's this Metroid thing. It did pretty well enough in Japan, but it pulled half the numbers as your other games. Those Westerners really liked it though, calling it one of the best games ever made. And while visiting Retro Studios, you're impressed by their first-person engine and decide to give them the go-ahead to make something new for the series. And hey, if that flops, you always got the story-based Metroid on the GBA. Oops, Prime turned into the best-selling Metroid game, garnered critical acclaim and influenced gaming in general. Oops. In retrospect, it's crazy to see how much Prime is just Metroid, but first-person. Like, don't get me wrong, the perspective change is huge. It literally changes how you interact with everything. The simple act of jumping from platform to platform has changed from no thought needed to let me get around first, wait, hold on, where's the floor? Alright, okay, here we go, baby! Now I'm one of those weirdos that can interpret first-person platforming pretty easily. You know, figuring out where you exist in the 3D space. However, I know people and have spoken with others that really struggle with that concept. And even I sometimes just flat out fail. And that's just the jumping. We also got combat, navigation, puzzle design, enemy design. Which of Samus's abilities even work in first person? So I think we should start with what hasn't changed? Like the intro. No, I'm serious, hold on, follow me here. Samus receives a distress signal from a space vessel, and upon arriving finds something went terribly wrong. Within seconds you see the corpse of a giant bug? It's young, it's feasting on the crew members. The dead bodies on the floor belong to the space pirates, Samus' forever enemy and antagonist of the Federation. I'll go into detail more about them later on. The computers are filled with logs on the experiments that took place on this ship. The pirates seem to have found a new kind of mutagen and are testing it on the local wildlife. The results of the experiments is waiting for you in the reactor core. It's a very simple boss. Dodge left or right to find an opening to let off some shots. Teaching new players that positioning is going to be important going forward. The music, on the other hand, damaging the queen enough causes her to fall into the ship's core, causing the classic Metroid escape sequence. Why yes, that beeping does continue the whole way through, why do you ask? On our way out, we see a very familiar face. As we escape, a rogue explosion strips Samus of all of her abilities, causing her to lose everything and reverting to her base form. It's a little iffy on why that happens. Maybe the suit has to expend energy to make sure she doesn't die, and Metroid, video games, it's video games, they need to do this. We pop out of the station onto our ship and follow Ridley to the nearby planet. Okay, so I was not joking about the intros being similar. I'm not complaining or calling it lazy. It's a strong intro. Just commenting on how well it works when remixed like this. Kind of a logical progression if you replaced Federation scientists with space pirates. After landing on the planet, we take a pause to soak up the environment. I really love how this game looks. It's not native, we're running enhancements under the hood. GameCube games tended to lean on art styles, so you usually had super colorful titles like Mario Sunshine, or they'd lean on more realistic stuff like Resident Evil 4. I think Prime rode the line perfectly. Not too grounded, just enough color and saturation. It really sells these locations as tangible places. Okay, this is gonna make me sound real old, but I remember seeing screenshots of Prime in official Nintendo magazine. Yes, that one. I'm thinking, man, these screenshots can't be real. No, I refuse. And after getting my hands on it and just sitting in Fandana drifts, all the snow gently falling down, listening to the music, getting this overwhelming feeling of video games have peaked. Until I played Mirror's Edge and had exactly the same experience again. Kinda cute in retrospect, but it taught me how much I value art style over raw graphical prowess. A lot of credit has to be given to the devs for creating so many unique rooms as well. While the map will paint these areas as a chain of rooms, the effort inside said rooms makes it feel like it has a purpose, a reason for being built this way. It still serves gameplay first, but they did not have to pour this much time into simple transition rooms. Even when they reuse them, it's at least visually different in some way. You can tell what area the elevator will take you because the environment bleeds through in the details. This room in the volcanic region has vines and flowers creeping in. I'll never forget where the first save point is in the Phazon mines, because for some reason, way beyond me, they stuck not one but 2 fish tanks behind the machine. It's genius! And I haven't even talked about the little touches. Stuff like the rain hitting the visor. Lots of visor things like goop, static on the HUD causing it to refresh, missile flashes letting you see Samus's face, beams caused the lock-on to change shape. Oh, and this is something I learned this playthrough. You see these hand symbols for the beam types on the bottom right? You know, over there? I've always wondered, why hand? But if you use the X-ray visor, you can see Samus moving her fingers. And it's the same as the symbols. She's changing weapons by making different gestures inside the cannon. That's so cool! Right, progression, sorry. Yeah. In case you've never played a Metroidvania, don't at me at the comments. I know this is a Metroid, it's not Vania, it doesn't have RPG elements. I'm a stickler for genres too. Metroidvania is a bad genre. Name, not bad genre. Just leave it. I know. Let's go over the basics of that. You get plonked down in a world with very little to your name. Usually you start with a jump and some sort of self-defense. As you explore, you bump into roadblocks. Some conceptual, some pretty literal. Like, why is there a half pipe here? Or this door won't open, it just tells me I need a different kind of weapon. Eventually you'll gain a new ability that will solve the problem you've been having. Oh hey, this weapon opens purple doors. Or recontextualizes things you've seen before. Oh shit, this is for the half pipe I saw. Wait, was there more than one? For Samus we got the old faithfuls, like suit upgrades. Samus can't go a game without acquiring the gravity suit because who loves water sections? I do, it's so great. We can't forget the Morph Ball, which gets decent mileage in Prime. One thing I really like is that they solidified bomb jumping. More specifically, double bomb jumping into an obvious mechanic. If you hang around one of your bombs, you get lifted upwards. Players seeing this and noticing the 3 bomb limit should put together that a double jump is possible, with an appropriately placed upgrade, by the devs as an incentive. Morph Ball also gets the Boost Ball for all your speedy movement and half-pipe nonsense, and the Spider Ball, which lets you stick to these, orange rails. The Morph Ball isn't used to its full potential, but it's really nice to see a lot more emphasis used on Morph Ball, like it's actually one of Samus's core abilities. Hey, you want to know how to give Prime players PTSD? Another core mechanic of Prime is the visors, being first person and all, and they're fine? The scan visor you start with is how Samus interacts with the environment. Samus is a very prideful person and refuses to simply press the button. To do so would be a waste of a very fancy suit. Scan visor is also used as an information gathering method. If it looks interesting, it'll probably say something useful, or at the very least interesting. Scanning enemies will have your suit giving you advice, or sometimes even reveal a weak point to exploit. Then we have the thermal visor with that goddamn wanna weep weep wah noise. It mostly lets you see power conduits and cloaked enemies, as well as it doubling as like a pseudo night visor. As with all the Prime, the flavor of the visor is great. Your whole HUD changes just to reflect you've switched to something different. If you decide to use it in Magma Caverns, everything just goes orange. It's a really cool idea, I just think it could have been pushed further. Speaking of things that could do better, is how you acquire some of these abilities. I've beaten this game around about 6 times at this point. And every single time I forget what order you pick up these items. The context in acquiring these items is just kinda weak. You know, hashtag not all items, of course, but my gut feeling is like at least 40% of all gear is sitting in a room, floating there, judging. Example, I can see how the big massive magnet rocks could give you the ability to stick to magnetic rails. Fantastic, game of the year, 7 out of 10. The flamethrower boss, which itself is a weird boss, both in and out of context. It's like a disposal trash unit, and after it takes damage it sets fire to a nearby hive of bees, and you know, the bees attack you thinking it was you, but they settled their home in a flamethrower? Whatever. You want to know what this boss gives you? That's right, mothball bombs. The logic is a bit screwy there. Now, this game has had trouble development, and things were kind of cobbled together at the last moment. The flamethrower effect itself is called like monkey flamethrower, so it's like just to give you an example of how cobbled together it is. Apparently the devs were working 80 to 100 hour weeks, so I want to complain more about it, but the devs did what they could. Fuck crunch, by the way. That arm cannon stapled to your face is not just for show. Samus comes pre-packaged with the Power Beam, your semi-auto rapid-fire option. Does decent damage, its effectiveness drops off as the game goes along, but its projectile speed means it will always be good for peppering in a few shots when you need it. It also has a juicy secret I'll reveal later. Little ways in you get the Wave Beam, which is kinda meh. It fires in a 3-shot pulsing form, which sounds like it'd make it do more damage, but like the shot's gonna get caught on geometry, or like the shot's gonna actually wave over the enemy. It's not amazing. The charge shot though homes in and the place is done, which is really, really appreciated. The ice beam freezes and the plasma beam burns. All these can be used without concern for ammo, unlike the missiles. And I really like Prime's missiles. Chunky damage. A lot of enemies will go down in about 2 to 4 missiles. Remember the Power Beam? It lets you do this. Dubbed Rapid Missile by the Prime speedrunning community, owing to what I assume is an oversight, you can cancel the recovery of the missile's firing animation into the beam's weapon idle, then right back into a missile. In this clip, I am mashing the missile button as fast as I can, but as you can see there has a delay between shots. When attempted with any other beam, the arm cannon needs to morph back into that weapon, so that's a no-go. Only the Power Beam can do this. Does it validate enemies? Sorta, but in a good way? Most enemies are treated as obstacles rather than like life or death foes. A large chunk of the roster is just animals going about their day, which for some reason are surprisingly weak to missiles. Not sure what's up with that. Missiles have an ammo pool that can be expanded by finding missile upgrades. The more you find, the more you can rapid fire them. It's a good excuse just to go exploring. The bosses are also really weak to rapid fire. Oh, on the topic of bosses, they're fine too. No pinnacle of boss fights, nor complete duds. Although, no joke, I had to look up the wiki to even check how many there were. If there is any, top 10 most hated bosses in Metroid. By the community, I'm guessing most people hate Thardus, which, yeah, I get. A fourth of the fight is just waiting for them to stop rolling around and continue the fight. The best you can do is just hope to get a cheeky shot, firing at the weak point while it rolls around. The other contender for the most hated boss are the Elite and Omega Pirates with their nah, no, nah. Meaning, unless you know some tricks, they control the pace of the fight. Which is a constant in Prime's boss design, but these two push it a little too far. How about we talk about the Space Pirates? Well, in general, considering they're the catalyst for the whole story. Space Pirates are an amoral faction that have been the scourge of the galaxy, going so far as to wipe out whole civilizations and then claim their planet as a homeworld. For example, if they attacked and killed all the people on the Earth, they would call the pirates that were zoo on Earth, Earthlings. They're kinda just big dicks. There's a line in the game when the Space Pirates are talking about the Chozo ruins, the dead bird people race. that sums them up pretty perfectly. It goes something like, the dead should not exist to hinder the living. In Prime, they're portrayed much more as a military faction. Lots of security measures that need to be followed to the letter. Failure to do assigned tasks results in cuts to rations and pay. I should mention the game doesn't portray all the space pirates as evil. There's several reports of them having pets, much to the dismay of the people upstairs. Constant complaints about the tech and needing upgrades, which if you have a holo projector that requires the Samus to power, yeah, that's a problem, you need an upgrade. Oh, and they are very afraid of Samus. She has stormed your secret base and blew up the literal brains of your operations. Twice! And there's lots of little things in the log that make it seem like the space pirates are actively reacting to you as a player. Realizing that Samus is hacking into the systems with incredible ease and suggest using physical locks to slow her down instead. Calling on any volunteers to try and stop her, knowing that the researchers won't stand a chance against her, but they will buy time for the Omega program. The pirates are also responsible for the Metroids on Talon 4, where they experiment on them in the cold climate, as Metroids are notoriously weak to lower temperatures, which is a lovely canon continuity. Remember that, it comes up a lot. And you know, since they're weak against ice, I wonder. I think my biggest criticism with Prime is the sound effects. You know, I brought up the thermal visor, but the audio mixing with the sound effects is just garbage sometimes. This clip you're about to listen to is unedited. All the poison clouds are just really that loud. The jetpack pirates' thrusters are way too bassy. It sure is a good thing I did not play the in-game audio during that sentimental bit in the snow, otherwise all you could hear was... I know, the upgrade sound is kind of important for a 3D space, I get it. However, it's so overbearing to the point of just being annoying at times. Especially when you need something very late in the ability tree to pick it up. Now I should mention I'm playing the NA version of Prime, which is the least refined version. I'd have to play the PAL version to compare. If you were playing this, I'm guessing it would be the Prime trilogy. Which shoutouts if it got a Switch port, oh my god, when Switch port? Which is like a PAL Plus version with motion controls, so keep that in mind. Also, in case you didn't notice, with the last 2 times I brought it up, the OST is really, really good. Metroid Prime is one of my comfort food games. The way it presents itself appeals to all of my sensibilities. The OST is so different from what we normally get, even from Metroid itself. And it spends a lot of time and love fleshing out the space pirates. As time has gone by, some cracks have formed in the visor. It's no longer the shining beacon it once was. But it showed how much it helped first-person games introduce people into a less frantic and more atmospheric world. It also showed us the series don't have to be locked to a single genre. We can and have done more than was expected of us. Also, no, I don't care about Prime 4, don't break up Prime 4, I haven't even played Prime 3. I swear, I promise that someday I'll play Prime 3 and then I'll play Prime 4, and maybe then I'll play Dread, you know, I don't know, fucking blah blah blah. Hello and welcome to the end of the video, the part where I apologize profusely for taking 5 weeks for a Metroid video. The first project I wanted to work on kind of fell through. I felt like I was just making the same video over and over again, and I do feel that a little bit with Metroid, but at least the different style of game, not being a fucking action RPG for a change, should have helped my brain process and, well, hopefully it changed things up. Then the second project I decided on, I realized it would take too long, and so I decided that this is going to take too long, and I need something. So Metroid Prime was basically my first pick, since I already played it a whole bunch. I kind of threw this together in 2 weeks, which would be an easy turnaround, to be honest with you. I would have liked a bit more time and effort with it, but it needs to be out. Something needs to be out. I also am aware of the audio issue with the voiceover. I do not know what happened. I have an inkling, I have a suspicion of what caused it, but apart from that, no clue. It sounds a little iffy at points. And I didn't notice it until I was halfway through assembling the video, so. But now this is out. I am either going to continue working on the second project, or I have discovered a video game that is less known than Alundra 2, if you can believe that. Shout out to Goob for showing me it, and after playing a little bit of it, I got excited. I don't know what else to say. I got... It's different, and it's a PS1 game. We'll have to see. Also, speaking of Alundra 2, thank you for the 500 views on both Alundras. That's fucking scary. That number keeps going up. You all need to stop. I don't know what you found, but you all need to stop. The numbers scare me. But that's pretty much it. Just an apology for this taking so long, but the next thing shouldn't take nearly as long. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you everyone for watching, and I shall see you in the next video. Bye-bye.